It may surprise you to learn that a channel of my modest size has haters, but I do. People leaving nasty comments, writing me emails, even making videos bashing me and the work that I do here on the channel. That's par for the course with YouTube. What surprised me is that so many of my haters are A-list celebrities. How? Why? What? How am I even on your radar, Clooney? It just doesn't make any sense to me, but take a look for yourself and let me know what you think.
What are we even talking about here? Hobby of ours, hobby of ours, hobby of ours. What is that and how did he get on my podcast? He doesn't have a GMT and he calls himself a watch guy. I'm moving on next.
Have you heard the man sing? It's like listening to cats swim in a blender. I have a lot of cats and they make some pretty weird noises, but nothing like D singing. Awful. Just horrible.
D. Yeah, I know hobby of ours guy. Brad and I invited him for Ocean's 14 and he said no. Said he's busy with YouTube. Who turns down Clooney and Pitt? No one. That's who. No one. He's a moron.
You want to talk about hobby of ours? We can talk about it.
Sure.
He didn't like the gold watch I released for the campaign. That's all right. I probably won't intern him at Guantanamo come January. Probably, I say, you never know what can happen. I have his book. Did you buy his book?
Ba-bam. Haters gonna hate, haters gonna ain't. Rolex GMT Sprite on wrist, on deck, and in the collection. Let's check it out.
D is a classic example of a non-starter. He can't find his way out of the driveway on a good day. He needs to buckle down, clean his room, get a Rolex GMT on his wrist, and that's when he can play with the big boys. Until then, my message to him is to sit down and shut up, hobby of ours.
Identify X. Soleil fine. Incoming data feed. Uploading. No. Verifying. Next. Allocation now complete. Transmitting. Congratulations, D-Train. You have been chosen.
You know, in that scene in Terminator 2, where the robot is explaining all the things that led up to Skynet taking over things, its perfect mission and whatnot, it never bothered to mention all the other ancillary things that AI was probably up to. I feel fairly certain that Celebrity Impressions was on the list. What a good bit of fun. I am your host, D. Welcome to this hobby of ours. Doing a special episode this evening. That's why I'm a bit dressed up. I am welcoming the Rolex GMT Sprite into the collection and wanted to give a toast, a special thanks to my Rolex AD of record, Louis Anthony Jewelers, particularly Andrea and Jeremy there. Thank you so much for, sorting me out with basically a dream watch, if not a grail watch. We're going to get into the concept of grail watch in a hot minute, a grail watch, even the concept of an exit watch. But wanted to say a quick thank you to them both and to Louis Anthony Jewelers for, being an amazing shopping experience, being an amazing AD. In fact, let's cut to a little bit of background on Louis Anthony Jewelers before we hit the deck. Louis Anthony Jewelers, not just my Rolex AD of record, but they have quite a bit of jewelry as well. Looking at their offerings from David Yurman, various designers, all sorts of rings, necklaces, bracelets, wedding rings, bridal, watches, men's jewelry, giftware, and various services as well. In addition to Rolex, they also offer Tudor, Tag, Baume & Mercier, Raymond, Wheel, Carl F. Bucherer. All of the big ends you can find right here and in a house you can trust. Louis Anthony has been on the block for about 30 years, if not more, and family owned, serving the Pittsburgh and tri-state area for all of that 30 years plus. You can trust them. Why? Because I do. Check them out. 2 years in the making, and I can scarcely think of another item to put on deck with us today. Looking at 15 pounds into a 5-pound bag, but why not? Time to celebrate and to break out all of the Rolex memorabilia. So glad to have this watch in the collection, on wrist, on deck. Major thanks to Andrea and Jeremy at Louis Anthony Jewelers, and frankly to the whole staff there. Garrett, Marcy, Heather, y'all are great. Love coming to visit you and talk watches. It's an absolute pleasure. Before we get into the watch, and I'm not going to belabor the measurements section, this watch has certainly been reviewed exhaustively by other YouTube folks. But I just wanted to go around the room. This is the magazine that was on shelf rather published whenever I went in the store to pick this up. This is one of the Rolex giveaways. They give you probably, frankly, the nicest one I've seen. This is the travel pouch. So it's got a little protector in there. Thank you so much for that, Jeremy. Love this little piece. That is going to be awesome. Got a wolf winder in that gorgeous green. It's an amazing thing I didn't gravitate to Rolex strictly because of their colorway. Pretty much a Highland green, a little darker, but love it. It's got their Louis Anthony logo on there. Got a couple books in the background over to the far right here. Can't really see it, but it's Giorgia Mondani Rolex books. Shout out to Georgia. Hope you're doing well, dear. A couple catalogs here. And as I mentioned, I've been chasing this since 2022. And every year they threaten, or I shouldn't say they, because Rolex doesn't do that, but the the watch bloggers, vloggers, etc., begin getting that FOMO in me raising up with a prospect that this is likely to get discoed. And once this goes disco, it's such a rare bird, such a wild card. It's going to be 2, 3, 4x retail on Obtainium. So I'm so very pleased I can get it from a reputable AD at list cost, and don't have to deal with the gray market for it, because it's hard to buy Rolex and Cartier on the secondary market. There's just so many F watches out there. Before I get into some of the things I want to say about Grail watches, a quick tour of the DIMS. Let's put some numbers up on the board. 40 millimeters wears perfect. Lug to lug, 48, also perfect. The height, amazingly svelte at 12. 100 meters of water resistance. Probably my only critique. I think they could easily make this a 200, if not 300 meter water resistance. It's more or less the same case. I just think they don't want to cannibalize sales from the subby or the deep sea. I imagine that's why. Of course, Sapphire, that movement, 3285, giving us 70 epic hours of power reserve. Gosh. The funny thing is, only 10% of the population is left-handed, so it is a curiosity as to why they released this to begin with. But love left-hand drive watches, and that bezel colorway is, of course, Hobby of Hours approved. Let's get this on wrist here. Can't wait any longer. Get on there. Get on there, you bad boy. All right, adios the gloves, D. The thing is, when I saw that recent episode, I'm another YouTuber talking about Grail watches, and I don't really like the term Grail. It's just a little bit too close to home, to it being the cup of Christ and everything. And I think Indiana Jones is really the one responsible for bringing in the concept of the Grail into, you know, modern nomenclature. But these are just watches. I also don't like the term exit watch either. It's like, can there ever be such a thing, an unattainable watch? You know, that's not just oodles of dollars, right? $1 million watches, whatever. But is there ever going to be an exit watch? A watch where I buy it and then I'm, boom, done collecting. I'm done watch hoarding. And, you know, this is enough.
D-Train Rolex is not going to make you happy. Get a Casio and quit this YouTube rat race. Ba-bam. What is that? What does that even mean? Ba-bam. And who is G-Money? Who is that guy? I'm at a loss. As for mug life, I'm buying Hobby of Hours mugs all day long and twice on Saturdays.
D, if you think you're done buying watches, you have a head made partly, if not mostly, of butt. Have you even seen my Daytona Leopard? It's per class. Shout out TGV.
I will say this watch does have me super satisfied. There's not a lot on my radar. There's a couple pieces here and there, but I just found myself satisfied with this. And when it comes to being satisfied with where you're at in the collecting game, I think about my buddy Kurt. He's around 12, 14 watches deep, and if you count every last one from his Casio to his Glycine or his retirement Skydweller, 40 plus years on the job, retired Marine airline pilot, and all-around Batical watch bro of mine. He's been on the channel before, interviewed him, and he's also been interviewed by Mosso. He's done buying, more or less. He's on to enjoying what he has, which I think is really the message, no matter where you're at in your journey, is to enjoy what you have as you are perhaps, you know, maybe even pursuing some other things. He's talked about getting a Brigade flyback, the modern one, no date, but also a Gerard Perigo world time. He doesn't have a world timer, and considering he's a pilot that's done Hong Kong to London more times than he can remember. But he's mostly satisfied. If there was a Grail for me, it would have to be a singular watch, not just a model per se, right? It's like Steve McQueen's Hanhart 417 immediately comes to mind, and of course, you know, Paul Newman's Paul Newman. Although, truth be told, you know, money aside from everything, I'd rather have Steve's Hanhart. But you know, even an original Cartier jumping hours, basically museum pieces chiefly. But Kurt has got a Rolex GMT Master from 1983, reference 16750, quick set date. For 22 years, it was his only watch. Countless Kurt missions, and it's my buddy's watch. That man has lived twice the life of most men, if not most collectors. Yeah, that'd be the grail if there was one. Kurt's GMT watch. He knows this, and I could certainly get another reference, but it wouldn't have the soul that Kurt's watch does, and for me, that means something. He kind of wants a Daytona, and I joke about getting a Daytona allocation and throwing it at him with the Breguet and the GP, and he still won't budge. He claims he's going to be buried with that watch. As if that's going to stop me, sir. How dare you? I'm just kidding. I love you, buddy. Seriously, though, please add me to your will. I'm going to find some way to get that watch, Kurt. You mark my words, sir. And we'll do it on the up and up. All right, let's get back to the studio.
More like the hobby of putting me to sleep for hours. Come on, you knew I'd have to show up in here somewhere. Bam.
Oh, excuse me. You caught me enjoying my Sprite, both there and there. If you happen to be a celebrity that appeared in tonight's video and you have a concern about it, please have your people contact my people or drop me a line, hit me up downstairs. I would love to have you on the channel. We can discuss it further. But if you're not a celebrity and you're just enjoying the video and came along for the ride, thank you so very much. Hope that wherever you are in this wonderful, beautiful hobby of ours, that you're doing well and that you're blessed. We will catch you in the next one. Peace. If you'd like to support the channel, head over to hobbyofhours.com. We've got artwork, coffee mugs, hats, t-shirts, and even a watch book. 1001 Watch Designs, Volume 1. Over 1,000 designs in here. Steampunk, super futuristic, kaleidoscope, even super real ones. Watches that you could probably put on your wrist today. It's a great way to support the channel. Thanks for coming along on the ride.
Hobby of Hours guy does not, I repeat, does not deserve a Rolex allocation. Probably broadcast from mommy's basement. Ludicrous. He needs to put in the work at the gym and then maybe he'll get a woman. Maybe.